Now that the strongest in history, the Honored One, Itadori Yuji, has finally made his appearance in JJK Modulo outright, the first time we have seen Prime Yuji actually destroying and terrorizing curse users in the modern age, just what will Old Man or Prime Yuji's role be in JJK Modulo? Has he incarnated as a Sukuna finger? Will he take on Dabura and fight him in a 1v1, a character as strong as Sukuna? Will he train up the next generation? And just what is Yuji's role going to be? That is what we're going to be breaking down in this video. So let's just get right into it. Be sure to leave a like on the video, it does help out. Thank you so much if you do, and of course subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK Modulo content just like this. Trust me, if you love JJK Modulo, especially Yuji videos, you will not regret subscribing to this channel. Alright, so let's just start with this. Now before I even start, I want to share this extract from Boku no Color, an absolutely amazing colorist and artist for JJK, and you can just read the text on the screen, and there's a lot of misunderstandings and just reading comprehension curse spirit going wild in the fan base. I think this is probably happening because JJK ended so long ago and people aren't taking the time to reread it. So let me just reiterate some things. Yuji is not a curse and neither is Sukuna. There is a difference between being a curse spirit and even the idea of a curse. When Sukuna says he is a curse, he doesn't mean curse spirit. I know it's so confusing, but one, that is because of so many mistranslations, especially by the Viz. The Viz has done literally irreparable damage that cannot be fixed. I'm not kidding. It just simply cannot be fixed. No matter how many videos I make or tweets I make, the damage the official translations have done, because they're so bad for JJK, is beyond egregiously discussed. And the incorrect official translations, Sukuna says, I'm a fully fledged cursed spirit, or I'm a cursed spirit. Just want to let you guys know that's not true. And as for Yuji, although Yuji has eaten the death paintings and has death painting physiology, death paintings aren't cursed spirits. That's something completely brand new. The best way I can explain this is when Choso's brother Eso died, their bodies didn't just vanish, they exist in the physical world, and even non-sorcerers can see death paintings. And even then, it's not like Yuji is a full death painting, although he has the physiology of a death painting, such as when Sukuna cut his leg off, it reattached in that way. But I just really want to clarify that because people think Yuji is a cursed spirit and he can live forever. That's not how it works. Now, as for Prime Yuji's role in JJK Modulo, one of the most interesting and popular theories is that since he has the physiology of a death painting, that might mean he can actually just simply live for a much longer time compared to a normal human. Meaning that although Yuji may still be in his 80s right now, he may have the body of someone who's 30 or 40, maybe because he's not a full death painting and he only has a physiology, so he's aging just slow. I do like that idea because it would mean we get to see Prime Yuji in JJK, something I've always wanted to see. And it would also mean when Yuji actually appears in JJK, it wouldn't be an old, decrepit, weaker version of him, it would be him in his absolute prime. So if he fights Dabura, the king of the aliens, he would be in his prime, kicking ass, seeing the very peak of Itadori, the Honored One, all hands every day, Black Flash Master Itadori. Now that's the most popular theory, but the only downside to this theory is the fact that from the way that the sorcerer was talking in the very beginning of the series, it sounds like Yuji isn't around. That doesn't mean he's dead. We've seen that before where Gege actually just completely misdirects us when someone's out of commission. He implies they're dead, like Todo or like Nobara, especially Nobara, but they weren't actually dead. And that same thing could be happening with Yuji right now. He may just be old or retired, so because of that, people aren't really afraid of him anymore. They're saying Yuji's not around because of the quote does make it seem like Yuji's not around. It makes it sound like he's dead, but it didn't say he's dead, so we don't really know for sure. But maybe that's what's going on. He could just simply come out of retirement. And that goes into option 2. If Yuji did retire, he might simply just be an old man. And if we will go with option 2, I actually think he will go more down the mentor route. I think in any case, he would go down the mentor route for Yuka and Tsurugi, but this would lean much more towards as if he were an old man, he would definitely not be as strong as he was in his peak. I think this would be pretty cool, just seeing an old man Yuji. I love the art design, or at least the style that Gege goes for the older sorcerers, as he saw with Kashimo when he was an old man. It's really cool. He really does not miss in that sense, and just seeing Yuji completely old, maybe even looking like his grandfather, would be so awesome. I'm not gonna lie. And the third option would be if Yuji incarnated using the theory that I had in a completely different video that I'll briefly talk about now, where there is an empty Sukuna finger with no Sukuna soul left in because there's no resonance. So that Sukuna finger, the last one, has no Sukuna soul. The Sukuna soul has completely passed on to the afterlife. It could be possible that Yuji simply placed his own soul into that empty husk of a cursed object, because Yuji himself is a cursed object and he has connections to Sukuna because he is a Sukuna finger. He is a cursed object in and of himself. So in that way, Yuji could just simply transfer that soul, and then if someone eats that finger, maybe someone with the Itadori bloodline, someone who has a connection to Yuji, they could actually incarnate as Prime Yuji. And I do love this theory because one, it would mean we get to see the descendants of Yuji, and even though we'd see the descendants, they could just simply actually incarnate and bring out the very prime of Yuji in his physical peak. I do love this idea, and I think it would be very cool. Now, narratively, I do think it would be good for Yuji to come back simply because it's Itadori Yuji. I mean, the hype that I've seen online, on TikTok, YouTube, on Twitter, exploding by this one flashback panel of Prime Yuji is insane. I'm seeing fan arts everywhere, just drawings, colorings, hundreds of thousands of interactions and tweets over this one panel, this one flashback panel. Can you believe if we actually got Prime Yuji to come back, just how insane of an impact that would have on the story, just how great that would be for sales? Simply in terms of that aspect, it's why I think Yuji will come back. It's why I think Gege will pull this card, because it's just too good of a hype moment not to pull back. And one thing Gege has always said is that he wants to make the most hype moments all the time in JJK. And also, it's just really cool seeing how the cursed spirits actually feared Yuji. Like, not just the cursed spirits, but even the cursed users. Like, for example, cursed Yuji we see in the beginning hyping up Yuji on the same level as Satoru Gojo, which in and of itself is insane. And then of course this old man sorcerer who we see here, where he actually fought Yuji and feared for his life, and he barely made it out with his life. He lost and just barely survived, fearing, talking about Yuji like he is an actual demon, out hunting cursed users. I mean, that is just such an insane reputation. And Yuji even being talked about like he's Gojo, where Gojo is always the exception to everything. You know, Gojo's hyped up as being the only one. For example, let's say with Naobito being the fastest sorcerer, only Gojo is faster than him, you know? Or Meimei's bird strikes having 100% kill rate, only Gojo has ever survived a straight hit. It's the same with Yuji, where this guy is saying the only person who I ever lost to and ran away from my life, the only time I feared for my life, was up against Itadori, all day smoke demon, black flash master, goat of everything, Yuji. Man, what an absolute beast. I just think it would be an amazing moment to bring him back. Now, considering the length, would Yuji die if he's not already dead? Let's say he's not dead and he comes back. Would he actually die? Seeing him actually come back and fight Dabura, the king of the aliens, that could be a possibility. The only problem is that this whole series has the themes of coexistence and neighbors and all that stuff, so I do think it's going to end with the aliens actually living on Earth, so I don't think it's going to end with an all-out war, so I don't think anyone's going to die in that sense. I mean, I think people will die, it is JJK, but just I really want to see Dabura versus Yuji more than anything. Like, it doesn't matter who wins or dies, I would love to see that fight. And one thing I gotta say is I already made a video on this, and I think Yuji I think he's stronger. If it's Prime Yuji, he's stronger, but he would lose. Whether it's one way or another, I don't really know. Maybe Dabura really is just stronger than Sukuna. Maybe he is that transcendent, because even Maru is seeming like special grade with transcendent technique that goes beyond our understanding. So to actually think about how strong Dabura is, that in and of itself is just going to be crazy. I wonder how he would handle Yuji's soul attacks, for example. And lastly, a very important point is that I do think Yuji's own character would tie into the main theme of Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, which is coexistence. I mean, just look at Yuji and Sukuna. They could never coexist, just like how Angel and Hana did, so maybe Yuji would actually try to take all the lessons that he never did of Sukuna and try to apply that to Maru, the aliens, and also the humans, and try to get them to coexist in a way he never could with Sukuna. That would be very awesome if we could see that main failure, I could even say failure, of Yuji in the original JJK. He actually redeems himself in that sense, and we see Yuji talking about Sukuna in that way in JJK Modulo. That would be awesome. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you think Yuji is going to come back? And if he does, what do you think his role is going to be? Be sure to leave a like on the video. It helps out so much. Thank you very much. And of course, subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK content just like this. If you love JJK, I assure you, you will not regret subscribing. But hey, that's all from me. Have a great day and take care, guys.